Melissa Wolfe from Our Half Acre Homestead with a land acquisition update. Now, back in July, this right now today is the 27th of August, 2016. And back in May, actually it was before May, it was back almost in sap boiling time, we talked to our neighbor about enlarging our half acre to a full acre because his property surrounds us on 3 sides. And all of this is agricultural land, even though it's ravines and trees and all that stuff, it's still agricultural land. And in these parts, you can't subdivide agricultural land for good reason. If you subdivide agricultural land for any reason, then you can't put it back together again once it's parceled and sold off. So it's a protection thing. And so we talked to our neighbor, and he told us pretty much what we had to do to, enlarge our lot. He agreed. We agreed on a price, and I can't divulge that because that's part of his privacy. And then we started jumping through the hoops. I phoned our municipal office. I talked to the guy who does the building permits because that's the person I was supposed to talk to, and asked him, who do I talk to go about applying to get a permit to enlarge our lot? And he said, let me get back to you. Week and a little bit later, I finally went into the office and said, look, I need to know so I can get this in the works. And he said, oh, you have to phone the CPTAQ. And the CPTAQ is a great big long bunch of letters that mean Agricultural Mafia of Quebec, which is fine. It's fine. They are there to protect the agricultural land. I have no arguments with that. But I asked him, do you have a phone number for me? And he said, no. After over a week. That's okay. That's okay. I found the number, but the problem is the website was mostly in French. And although some of it had English alternatives, the parts I needed didn't. So after 6 gazillion phone calls, I finally got the number for the CPTAQ. And I called them, and then they had somebody who spoke English call me back, and they sent me the forms. And they were insane. So I filled out all the forms, making hundreds of mistakes, but I tried to correct them as best I could because I couldn't navigate the CPTAQ website because it was mostly in French. Therefore, I couldn't print off the forms. So I went into the municipal office. We did the maps. We, said where we wanted it and why we wanted it, and a long letter. I mean, the file had to be that thick. Took it into the municipal office with a postal money order for $286 for the CPTAQ just to apply to get a yes or a no. So before it could go to the CPTAQ, it had to pass town council. So town council took the forms. I knew the meeting was July 4th, I believe. Yeah, the town council meeting was July 4th. But our long weekend is July 1st, which was on a Friday this year, because we're Canadian, right? So on the last day of June, 2 weeks after I sent all these forms in, because again, they have to go through the town council so that they can say, yeah, we support this or not. The day before the long weekend at 1 o'clock, I got a phone call saying this one particular form won't work. It has to be more legible. You have to, and I said, hey, I can't print that form off because I can't navigate the site. And I mean, I have to get it by mail, which takes 2 weeks, and town council meeting is on Monday. So what do? She said, I'll print them off and send them to you. So the guy who did the building permits brought them over. I put them on the table. I finished whatever I was doing, and at 6 o'clock I sat down to refill them out, only to find out that the one form that had been messed up was not in the package. Now, town council meeting was on Monday. This is the Friday of a long weekend in town. The municipal office was closed. So I phoned Monday morning in a panic because I knew the town council meeting was at, the council meeting was at 2. And I phoned and said, I don't have the one form I need, because the lady who phoned me and said this won't do, said, do you want to put it off till August? Because the town council only meets at the first whatever day it is of every month. And I did not want to put it off for another month because I knew this could be a really lengthy process. So I phoned, and I love the receptionist, Ellen. She was wonderful. She said, I'll print it off for you. So she printed it off for me. I went in 2 hours before the town council meeting, refilled out the form, put everything together, and gave it, handed it in. And just as the councilors were getting together, I said, so when will I hear? And they said, don't worry about it. Town council supports it, because they know, a lot of these older lots, people just cut up and divided before the new law came in and sold them off, and a lot of the surveys were improperly done, or a lot of people didn't pay attention to the proper surveyed lines. Okay, so the town council meeting happened and everything went away. That was July 4th. So now it is August 26th, and almost immediately, before the week was out, the CPTAQ called me and said, we have everything we need except the deed. We need proof that the man who you're buying it from owns the property that you're buying. Now, we're not buying a severed lot. Let me get that straight. It is not a severed lot. It is just expanding the lot we have so that all of our bits and pieces are on our own property. So, okay, then, Howie and our neighbor went together and they found the deed, and we, actually we sent the wrong one. Like, it wasn't a deed, it was something else. And they phoned us back and said, no, that's not what we need. So I contacted his notary who did the last thingamajig, and they emailed all the copies to me, who I emailed to the municipal office, who faxed them to the CPTAQ. Yeah, starting to see my angst here. Part of me really wanted this to happen before the snow flies. But I phoned the CPTAQ yesterday, and they said, do you have a file number? And I gave them the file number. And they said, okay, everything's been accepted. And I went, yes. And they said, no, everything's been accepted for perusal. I said, what does that mean? She said, they're going to look over the file. And they have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and we provided them with a lot of information. But what she told me next really broke my heart. She said it's going to take 4 to 6 months before you have an answer. This is before we even have an answer whether it's yes or no. If the answer is no, we need more information, we may have to do this all over again and provide more. But we're pretty confident that we've given them everything they need, to say yes. But she said, okay, you sent it in July, it's now August, you have another 3 to 5 months wait before you find out. I said, wow, really? I said, so, and 3 to 5 months, it's going to be dead winter. Right? What's this August? September, October, November, December, it'll be January, February, December, between December and February before we find out. Then what happens? Well, we can't get the surveyor in. We're going to be under 3 feet of snow, and the surveyor's not going to be able to come in. And we can't pay for the land and do the land deal without the survey. So we're looking at spring. So it's, we started this in like May, okay? And it could be April before it gets all done. So for those of you who are asking and letting us know, you know what, folks? It just gives us more time to save up the money. It really does. Because we've got to pay for the land, then we have to pay for the survey, and a survey is, I think it's $2,500, between $1,800 and $2,500. And the notary fees and all that stuff. So, I mean, it gives us time. I just hope, my neighbor doesn't change his mind. This is the Miss Wolfie from our half-acre homestead saying Rome wasn't built in a day, and apparently neither is going from a half acre to a full acre. Take care. God bless.